Hi guys, it's April and I garden down in southeast Nebraska, zone 6A, formerly 5B. And this is my garden. I'm going to be showing you around. If you've been here before, at least seen last week's garden tour, there's not a whole lot of changes, but I do have a few more things to show and a few stories to tell. So if you want to join me on this little garden walk, let's go. You can definitely tell that the sun is rising later and later because we have this nice golden light for this garden tour today, and I am adoring it. And you can still see all of the morning dew and whatnot all over the plants. And it is so nice out here right now that I could just spend the day out here. If I didn't have to go to work, I totally would. But the loofah is still quite the beast of the garden. She is just taken over, and every day I find more and more loofah that are starting or have gotten big enough that I can actually notice them. So there's probably about 12 to 14 on here at this point. Some of them, like, let's see if I can get over here. Like that one right there, probably won't get big enough to do much of anything. But since this is my first year growing loofah, I'm kind of just seeing how things go. I did see a hummingbird on this loofah the other day, and it absolutely made my morning. So this might be a staple in my garden, whether or not I actually need loofah. But I had to show her off again because she's just right here, making it complicated to get around, but in a good way. I have to constantly pull her out of the honeyberry bushes. And I am hoping that that honeyberry bush does come back next year. There's still leaves, so I have hope, but we'll see. I'm letting everything in pots just do whatever they want to do. I'm at the point of the gardening season where you're not going to get babied anymore. If you survive, you survive. If you don't, there's always next season. But I do want to talk about the corn. We did have our first sweet corn harvest last week. And I have zero idea what variety of sweet corn this is. This is part of a university study where they're doing different kinds of soil amendments and seeing how that affects the growth and health of soil. And this year they gave us sweet corn seeds to plant. Part of it you had to plant not in the soil that you were amending, and the other part was in the soil you were amending. All that to say, the pack of seeds that they gave us just said sweet corn on it. So zero idea what kind of sweet corn it is. Whatever kind of sweet corn it was delicious. We roasted it on our fire and I absolutely adored it. It was delicious. We're definitely going to be getting cowpeas fairly soon. This is probably the longest I've ever had to wait for cowpeas. I'm not entirely sure what has been going on this year with the cowpeas. Usually these are my most prolific plant ever. I am swimming in cowpeas from early summer all the way into late fall. And I know I did plant these a little later, but they did seem to struggle a little bit earlier this year and not producing anything. But we now have all of these beans all at once. So that should be a fun adventure when those finally finally are ready. Now the question is, should I take you through the path or not? We're gonna risk it. We're gonna see if we can do this. Every time I trip. I always show you this view with the ground cherries and the okra bushes. We are eating okra like crazy right now. I'm finding different ways to use it, different things to put it in, just so we can get all the nutritional value of the okra, even if it's just a little bit here and there. But I have frozen so much of it at this point. I'm overflowing with okra. Not the produce I thought I was gonna have an abundance of this year, but I'm not gonna complain. And then of course the ground cherries, which as you can see, I need to go through and harvest a few of. This thing is massive and is probably taking up a quarter of this test plot, which is part of this study, which is probably why it's so massive. But that means it's at least 25 square feet of just growth, because this is a 100 square foot plot. That's insane. Where should we start with the rest of this stuff? I guess since we're standing right here, I can just show you. We still have tomato plants, and we did go hornworm hunting the other day because, as you can see, we have stripped plants, and we did find a few hornworms and have since relocated them. But it looks like I am going to get a good flush of more romas. I was not very successful with the romas this year. As you can see, my midnight roma, I've got a lot of little tomato fruit on there that I didn't even harvest because it was so small and it wasn't properly formed. So I just kind of gave up on romas for a while, but it looks like I shall have at least a few more before the season's over. You can also tell that I have given up pruning my tomato plants now that the season is coming to an end. We probably have about 4 weeks or less left in the growing season. So I'm really not stressing about a lot of the garden maintenance because I know fairly soon I'm just going to be taking it all out. But that also means I need to get on my booty and get more of these carrots harvested. I have been doing small harvests here or there, as you can see with the open spot there, but I haven't gone through and just pulled them all out, which is what I will probably do in the next couple weeks or so, because this is something I can put up into cold storage and it'll keep for a decent amount of time. But otherwise we have the dwarf tomato plants, and then we've got some pepper plants down there that are still going. A couple of these dwarf tomato plants didn't actually produce a lot of fruit, and I'm not sure exactly why that was. I might try them again at least one more time before deciding, hey, maybe it's just not a variety that produces, so I don't necessarily want to focus on it. I'm gonna turn around, and yes, these tomato plants are going crazy. I might have to replant my herb sections because they have gotten a little smothered out by the tomato plants, and that's my fault. I know I've lost at least one thyme plant. I don't think the bee balm is going to make it, and I have a sage there that might not make it either, but we'll see. And on this other side, wow, I cannot talk this morning. I haven't had my coffee yet. It's part of the reason why things are a little mushed up with my words. This thyme plant is doing okay. It never really took off, not sure why. The stevia is looking good, but that's not a perennial. So that's not gonna be there next year. But this bee balm, not doing good. It decided it was done. And yes, the tomato plants are overflowing and it's a mess. But it's there along with this basil. Just kind of like brushing by it. Smells glorious. I've got a bunch of tomatoes there that I need to come harvest. But I wanted to kind of just look over at this area. I think at some point, especially now that the days are getting a little cooler, I'll go and I'll try to pull up some of that grass that's not supposed to be there. Because at some point I just want this to be a sea of zinnias, but I am fighting grass at the moment. And then we have the horn melon or jelly melon, whichever one you want to call it. Still going. I'm sure there's a whole bunch of fruit buried in there that I need to go and harvest, but I'm still eating through what I harvested the first go around. It never really went quite up the trellis like I expected it to. Vines never do. Someday I will find something that trellises up this trellis perfectly. Let's see. Let's go more this way so we can go and look at the sunflowers. I'm probably going to be pulling so many sunflower babies out of my mulch next year, but I am okay with that because I absolutely adore the wall that these sunflowers create. This bed is starting to kind of dwindle. The potatoes have been pulled. The marigolds have all died back. I should probably see if I can harvest some of the seeds from those. But the pepper plants, while they're still doing okay, a lot of the smaller pepper plants with the smaller peppers are doing really good, but my big bell peppers are just kind of giving up at this stage. But I'm still loving these variegated varieties. They're always the ones that produce the most and the longest. So I'll probably always have a few of those varieties around just for the smaller sweet peppers. Because as you can see, they don't get too terribly big. But if you have a lot of them, they're perfect. Chickpeas, of course, I chopped back quite a while ago. But the big story is about this evil plant right here. And this is a little bit on me more than anything. But I got seeds called Zavory, which were supposed to be a less spicy habanero plant. And from what I read, I thought it was kind of like the habanada, so it was more on the sweet side than it was on the spicy side. I expected a little kick, but not a lot. The Scoville was set lower than a jalapeno on the description I read, but I did also get this from a backyard grower. Well, I probably should have tried the pepper before I used it in anything, which this is a PSA to everyone. If you are going to use a new to you pepper, try a little bit of it before you actually use it in your cooking. Because this guy right here, I think is closer to a full-blown habanero than anything else, because first of all, I made some hot sauce out of it, thinking that it would add just a slight kick to my jalapeno hot sauce. Pretty much maced myself while I was making that. And then I put some on some pizza, and I'm talking about like 3 or 4 slices on a pizza. And me and my husband realized that we had just put ourselves on the hot one competition because it was a struggle to eat. And at some point, you know, you just made your mouth so numb that yes, you could finish the rest of the pizza without dying. It gave me this severe case of the hiccups because it was so spicy. It was an adventure. I won't be growing seeds from this pack. And this plant might disappear at some point because it's just, we're not going to be using these. But that was our adventure with the savory pepper. We are honestly just not a super spicy family. I can do a jalapeno here or there, but that's just not how we've lived our lives. I will continue to grow jalapenos and notapenos because I like making srirachas, and they are perfect for that. Plus, if I want to do jalapeno poppers, I like that, but I don't know if I'm going to do some of the varieties that are based on the habaneros. I'm even debating whether or not I'm going to continue with any of the ají line. I go back and forth with that as well. But this is the spicy bed and what was supposed to be the not spicy bed. And just living its best life. It is thriving. I have several jalapenos that I need to come through and harvest. But yeah, I'm a little leery of spice right now. Do you ever just have one of those days where your brain just hasn't fully turned on yet? It's me right now. I need caffeine. I decided that you guys were more important. I needed to do this before I have to run to a meeting, which I do. So I'm going to quickly wrap this up. This is my garden in September, not October. It's still September. And she's still producing. I'm letting her go wild. I'm embracing the chaos. It is the season for it. So I accept her as she is. If you want to continue to see these garden tours, I try to do them every week on Friday. Subscribe down below, hit the bell, do all the things to get all the notifications. I also have an Instagram and Threads account, which is where I usually put the photos that I show in these videos while it's happening. So you can go and check me out over there. But with that being said, I am gonna go in, I am gonna go to my meeting, I'm gonna edit this video and put it up for you. And I do hope I will see you again in another video, and I heart your beautiful faces. Bye.